What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope all doing well. Let's get started with a little bit of hockey. Flyers extend Jamie Drysdale a 4-year extension worth $6.5 million per season. Drysdale started in Anaheim, has been with the Flyers the last 3 seasons. Obviously, been a lot of player movement between the Flyers and Ducks the last few seasons from Cutter Gauthier. Obviously, the Flyers tried to poach Leo Carlsson. They forced Ducks to pay him an exorbitant amount of money. So Drysdale is staying in Philadelphia. He had 8 goals and 32 assists last year. Was the best year of his career. Very good defenseman. He's still just 24 years old. Was the sixth overall pick by Anaheim back in 2020. Now he's in Philadelphia. He had a great year last year, and the Flyers locked him down. Philadelphia's got a very intriguing young core. And of course, made the playoffs last year and surprised a lot of people, being the Penguins in 6 games in the first round of the NHL playoffs. And the Blackhawks extended Connor Bedard on a huge deal, a 5-year extension worth $75 million. I think that comes to $15 million per season, makes him the third highest paid player in the entire league. So Bedard gets locked up. One of the best young players in hockey, was considered one of the best talents to come out in a while. Was the first overall pick back in 2023. He's had some injuries over his first 3 seasons. He missed 13 games last year. In 2024, he missed 14 games. He played all 82 2 years ago. As a rookie, in 68 games, had 22 goals and 61 points. Won the Rookie of the Year trophy. 2 years ago, he played every game. He had 23 goals and 67 points. And this past season, only played 69 games, did miss 13 games, but had 30 goals and 75 points in 69 games. So he is still only going to be 21 years old this year. And he's already a premier player in the league, and he gets a bag. He is going to be an absolute superstar for a very long time. On to baseball. The Orioles extend Kyle Bradish on a 5-year extension worth $90 million. That on a per year basis, I believe, comes to about $17 million a year. So he was going to be a free agent. He's now signed through 2031. Brace is 29. He broke out in 2023, having a 2.83 ERA over 30 starts, 168 and 2/3. A lot of injuries the last 2 years, only 14 starts over his last 2 seasons, but has stayed healthy this year and had a good year. Numbers aren't what they were 3 years ago, but still has a 3.61 ERA in 19 starts, 107 and a third, has 106 strikeouts against. He does have 50 walks, which is kind of high. His walks per nine is over 4, which is by far the most of his career. For his career, he has 86 career starts, 19 of them coming this year. For his career, his walks per nine is 3.2, and that's with the 4.2 this year. His strikeouts per nine is a little bit under 9, which is a little under his career average. But he's had a solid year. He is going to be 30 years old next year. Gets a 5-year deal. But 17 million, I think, is fair value. We'll see how he ages, with some of his arm issues. He did come up much later. He did not make the big leagues until he was 25 years old in 2022. So he's got a lot less mileage on him for most 29, going to be 30-year-old pitcher. He's going to be 30 in about 2 months. Um, he's got a lot less mileage on him than most nearly 30-year-old starting pitchers, because he didn't start till he was 25 years old. So he gets extended. The Cubs make a small trade. They acquire Aaron Savali from the Athletics. Very minor move. Savali has had some good years in the past. Has not been good this year. Back in 2021, his first full season with Cleveland, in 21 starts, he had a 3.84 ERA and 124 and a third. 99 strikeouts against 31 walks. 2022, he struggled to a 4.92 ERA in 20 starts. In 23, between Cleveland and Tampa, was much better. Was very bad with Tampa down the stretch, but pitched very well with Cleveland earlier that season. Overall, a 3.46 ERA in 23 starts, 122 and a third. In 24, between Tampa and Milwaukee, he started off very slow with Tampa, had near over 5 and 17 starts, but pitched well for Milwaukee down the stretch. Had a 3.5 ERA in 14 starts with Milwaukee in the second half of the year. Brewers worked their magic once again that year. 24, he had a overall 4.36 ERA in 31 starts, the only year of his career to this point where he had more than 23 starts or even games in the season. Last year was on three teams: Milwaukee, the White Sox, and the Cubs. He pitched bravely for Milwaukee. The beginning of the year wasn't great, was hurt. Ends up with the White Sox, was terrible for a while. Eventually gets let go. The Cubs brought him in late in the year and actually pitched out of the bullpen late in the season and was okay. Overall, last year, he had 23 games, 18 starts, ERA 4.85, so he wasn't great overall. Has had probably the worst year of his career this year in 16 games, 15 of those in the starting rotation with the A's. Has a 5.42 ERA. In 74 and two-thirds, he's allowed 98 hits and 45 earned runs. He's got 58 strikeouts, which is not a lot, against 23 walks. He's 31. He's an older pitcher, but he's had times where he was not pitching well, and then he got moved to a better team, and he pitched a lot better. He's a very, he's a fly ball pitcher. 20 years ago, he would have probably had a lot more success. It's hard to be a fly ball pitcher in today's league where so many guys are hitting the ball out of the ballpark and everything's about launch angle. And just guys just hit the fastball so much better than they once did. And you realize the fastball so much. So he's kind of out of the way in that aspect. But you see some of the places that he's pitched well. Cleveland is more of a pitcher's park. And he had probably the most success he's ever had in Cleveland. He had some brief success in Milwaukee, which is another pitcher's ballpark. Now he goes to Wrigley. The A's obviously are playing in the minor league stadium. The ball flies out of there as their Vegas stadium gets built. But he should have a little more success now. Obviously, he's his second stint with the Cubs. He had a very brief stint with them last year. Now he's back with them. Cubs had a lot of issues in their rotation. They have not had Edward Cabrera was hurt for a while. He recently came back. He was just kind of okay before he got hurt. Justin Steele's been out for a while. Cade Horton's not going to pitch again this season. Ben Brown was on the IL at one point. They had to bring in David Peterson from the Mets, who was struggling with the Mets this year. He's not been any better with the Cubs. Shota Umanaga has really struggled. The only real consistent starters this year, Javier Assad, lately he's been decent. Matthew Boyd's been pretty good. And Colin Ray's been a solid filling guy, but they've just had so many issues with their rotation. Jameson Taillon's hurt. Right now, the rotation is Matthew Boyd, who's a fine innings leader, but certainly shouldn't be, you're one of your best starters. Shohei Managa. 2 years ago, he burst onto the scene for coming over from Japan, was great. Wasn't very good last year. Has not been good lately. David Pearson has been awful. Ray has been a fine fill-in. Javier Assad's been okay. Getting Edward Cabrera back is definitely going to help. Ben Brown is a guy who moving into rotation should help. And now Savali hopefully can pitch a little better in Wrigley and Sandwasm. They probably need to make another move as well. If they want to have a shot in October, they gotta make sure they get there first. They should, but certainly isn't guaranteed. They should probably make another bigger move for even another starting pitcher because they've had so many health issues with that rotation. Now let's talk about golf real quick. Congratulations to Ryan Fox on winning the Open. Crazy tournament. Last day was pretty crazy. Cameron Young shoots 64, storms all the way up to first place. And he was done, basically very shortly after the leaders were just teeing off. But he was in first place for a lot of the last day. Ryan Fox ties him in the last couple of holes, and he made this putt on 18 to win the Open for his first ever major championship.
Birdie to win the Open.
Ryan Fox has done it with a birdie at the last.
What a moment for Ryan Fox. I think he's the third PGA player from New Zealand to ever win a major at 39 years of age. He wins his first ever major, so good for him. He played really well all week, and just a really clutch putt. That 18th hole, a lot of players had success at it, but it all depends on getting the ball in the fairway. It's a very narrow fairway. He put it perfectly between those two bunkers, hit an absolute bomb. His iron was great all week. It was great all day on Sunday, and he had a beautiful iron shot. He got to it just inside 12 feet, and it's a really clutch putt from 12 feet out to bury the 18th hole to win. A lot of other guys were close. Siwoo Kim, who played well all week, really good day on Saturday. Struggles down the stretch. Sam Burns, another guy, played really well all week. Shot 62. A couple of guys did, which was a course record on Friday. Saturday shot 65. Put him in a really good position to win this thing. I think it was two shots up going in to Sunday. Wasn't great on Sunday. I think shot one over. He had a long birdie to tie the lead. Don't think it would have ended up mattering because Fox made that putt, but he gave himself a shot to maybe be in a playoff. That's two majors in a row. He did the same thing at the last major as well, which is uh, unfortunate. He had the right speed, but just he pushed it off to the side. A bunch of guys were close. It's a shame Tommy Fleetwood, who was the hometown guy, he was close throughout the week. Not the best day on Sunday. Couldn't close. Finishes, I think, four shots off the lead. But congratulations to Ryan Fox. He wins a very entertaining Open for his first major championship of his career. Time to talk the NFC North. Going to predict that division with the over-unders. Starting with the team that I think is going to win the division, and I truly think the Detroit Lions are going to win the division this year. The NFC North, I think, might be the most interesting division in football. Mustang up because it is going to be the most competitive. At least three of the teams you can make very strong cases to make the playoffs. Maybe even all four. There's probably a case for the team that I finishing last place. I just don't see having a lot of success, despite having some talent on the roster. I'll get to that when I get to that in this segment. I guess if everything goes right for them, yes, they'd be a playoff team, but I just think the chances of that happening are very, very small. The Lions, their defense does scare me a little bit. It seems like every year they have issues on the side of the ball. So many guys get hurt, and they just don't have the depth to withstand it. Doesn't matter who the coordinator is, whether it's Aaron Glenn, whether it's Kelvin Shepard. It doesn't seem to matter. Right now, they don't have a legit number two edge rusher across from Aiden Hutchinson, who we all know is a star in his league. But I think that they have a couple of guys on the front that can be. They drafted Derek Moore on day two out of Michigan. I think he will be a very good player. I think he can be that number two edge rusher. But it's not going to happen right away. Right now, your number two edge rusher is DJ Wonham, who's not a bad player, but just not a guy that's really a legit threat. Now, if they're healthy, I love Jack Campbell in the middle of that defense. Derek Barnes isn't bad. Malcolm Rodriguez can hold his own. And secondary, DJ Reed's a good cover corner. You got Roger McCreary in the slot. Rocky Sin is in the fold for some depth. If Branch and Kirby Joseph are healthy, they're probably the best safety duo in the league. But they both are coming off major injuries. I'm not sure how healthy they're going to be. But you look on the inside, you have Levy. Omuzurike, hope I pronounced that right. He's okay. I like Alan McNeil, but injuries are a concern with him. Kelly Williams, a lot of people like him. I didn't love him coming out. We'll see what he does this year. But offensively, they're going to be a lot better. They weren't bad last year by any means. They still put up a lot of points. The offensive line was a major concern. It should be a lot better. They're going to be moving Panay to left tackle with Taylor Decker moving on. They draft Blake Miller in the first round. I think I said this around the draft. When it first happened, I thought that kind of reached for him. Then when I thought about it, one, they need a guy who's NFL ready. And although there were some guys on the board who right now are projects, they probably have a higher ceiling than Miller. Right now, they're not as ready as Blake Miller. And then they need a guy who could play right tackle right now. And I think he was the best one available that fit that mold. So I think he'll fit very well in Detroit. You bring in Cade Mays, who's a solid center. That was a good signing. You have some depth. You brought in Juice Scruggs, got him in the David Montgomery deal. Scruggs is not very good, but as a depth piece, you can survive with him. You look at a guy like Larry Borum. Larry Borum isn't very good. He should never be starting. But as a swing tackle, you could do a lot worse. How will Christian Mahogany perform as your starting left guard? That remains to be seen. He was a sixth round pick 2 years ago. I'm not sure what he's going to be, but they've kept him this long. They seem to like him. And the rest of that line should be very good. Sewell's an all-pro. Tate Ratledge was very good as a rookie last year. Adding Mays, drafting Miller. This should be a much improved offensive line, especially if they're healthy. And look, as Jared Goff, he's a good quarterback. He's not great. He's good. I don't know why everyone with quarterbacks, they either have to be elite or they have to be horrible. He's a good, top 13 quarterback in the league. I don't know why that's so complicated. Gibbs is a star, one of the five best backs in football. Amon-Ra, one of the five best wide receivers in football. Jameson Williams, one of the best 15, I would say, best receivers in football. Even Isaac Tesla is a good player. Some Laporta has some injury issues. When healthy, is a very good tight end, underrated run blocker, very good pass catcher. You have depth at that position as well with Brock Wright and with Tyler Conklin. So this should be a good team. They're going to play an easier schedule, playing the last place schedule. Even if the roster on paper is just as it's pretty much the same as it was last year, a good, not great roster. I think they're probably going to end up with one or two more wins because of the easier schedule. So they'll win. I think they go over 10.5 wins. I think they get to 11 wins this year. I think they win the division. I don't think they're a true Super Bowl contender, but they could possibly be in the NFC Championship game. So they'll be a good team this year. I think they'll be better than they were a year ago. And the Lions will be an 11-win team this year. Second place, I think it will be the Chicago Bears. But I do think they're gonna go under the 9.5 wins that they're set at right now. I think they'll finish at 9-8. The Bears, to me, so there are definitely some things to be excited about in terms of this football team. Look, I'm not gonna go down the Caleb Williams rabbit hole. I've done that so many times. I've had multiple clips on this show of me not liking him. I don't think he is all that. I've said that many times. But there's so much talent offensively that it's kind of hard to not be somewhat efficient. DeAndre Swift is a good back. He's not the best pure runner, but he's a good athlete, good pass catcher. Him and Kyle Monangai definitely are a very good duo. Monangai is definitely the better runner. Swift is the better pass catcher. I am interested to see how that receiving core looks without DJ Moore. Not that he was anything great last year. He was just kind of fine. I think they got a good return from Buffalo, considering where he is in his career at this point. But can Rome Odunze be a number one wide receiver? They think he can. He had a much better year last year and second year than his poor rookie year. He was a top 10 pick, but can he be a wide receiver one? That remains to be seen. Now, Luther Burden. I think Luther Burden as a 3 is very efficient, like he was last year. As a 2, how will that look? Now, granted, it helps when you have a great tight end duo in Colson Loveland, who was good last year as a rookie. I think will only get better, and Cole Kmet, who's also solid. Overall, they have a good offensive line. Darnell Wright turned into a good right tackle. You have Joe Thuney, who's an excellent guard. He was voted the best offensive lineman in football last year. First ever protector of the year where we went to him. But you definitely downgrade at the center position with Drew Dalman shockingly retiring. You go out and get Garrett Bradbury, who isn't a terrible center, but he's certainly a far cry from the elite all-pro that Drew Dalman was. And defensively, they're going to be a little bit better. You add Devin Bush, who's a very good run stopper at the linebacker spot. You add Kobe Bryant, who's a good safety. Having Jaylon Johnson healthy this year is going to be a big advantage. And having Kyler Gordon healthy will help as your nickel back, but I still don't love what I've seen from him when he's been healthy. Tyreek Stevenson's the guy that 2 seasons ago, remember, he was celebrating mid-Hail Mary against Washington and got burnt. You drafted Dylan Lamb in the first round. I think he'll be a really good safety. But I just look at up front. Onduswit's a good player. So is Deo. Ode Ingbo, whatever his name is. Gray Jarrett's an older player. TJ Edwards is fine. So his defense, which was very bad last year, will be a little bit better. But I still don't think it's great. I still think it's a very middle-of-the-road defense. And offensively, I think you lose DJ Moore, your offensive line is going to be slightly worse. I think, and this team might won so many crazy one-score games that they're not going to have that luck again. We've seen this time and time again. We saw it with the Vikings a couple of years ago. We saw it with the Commanders last season. We saw the Chiefs happen to last season. They had Patrick Mahomes on their team. So Chicago, I think, is in a position to definitely regress as a unit, and I think they will be under the 9.5 wins. And they'll still be a competitive team. There's still a lot of talent on this roster, but I think overall they're going to be a worse football team. And again, you got the first place schedule, so you're going to, it's going to be a tougher schedule. You had a much easier schedule last year. I think they will be 2 to 3 wins worse. I'll say they end up at 8 and 9 this year. The Packers are at 10.5. I'm taking the under. This one was pretty easy, honestly. I was a little surprised that their over-under was so high. And again, there's some talent on this roster. Jordan Love is a good quarterback. He's a top 13-ish quarterback in the league. And you look, Josh Jacobs is a very good running back. He dealt with some injuries last year. At the receiver spot, Jaden Reed is good. Christian Watson, look, when he's healthy, he's a guy who can be a legit deep threat, can be a legit red zone threat. Matthew Golden was a first rounder a year ago. Wasn't very productive as a rookie, but was very good in that playoff game. Can he take a step forward? A healthy Tucker Kraft this year. But I don't love their defense, and this team is not very deep. Last year, they had a decent amount of depth. Even with a zillion injuries, they were still able to make the playoffs and almost won a playoff game. Obviously, very ugly, blowing a 21-3 halftime lead to the Bears of all teams, and you blew that game in the regular season as well, that overtime game. But I just look at this team, they to me are significantly worse. Defensively, up front, look, obviously we know what Micah Parsons is. They did not have him down the stretch last year, and the defense was significantly worse without him, obviously. You're going to have him this year, obviously, but it's probably going to be about a month or so before you have him. He's probably going to be hurt to start the year. And, Luke Van Ness hasn't been anything since being a first-round pick. Devontae Wyatt hasn't been great. I like bringing in Javon Hargrave in the middle, but so that front seven, and Edgerrin Cooper is a decent player. You're bringing Zaire Franklin, so a decent linebacker, but he did decline a little bit last year. I still don't have enough up front. And that secondary is going to be bad. I love Xavier McKinney at safety. He's a good player, but your starting corners right now are Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine. That doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. Now, you took Brandon Sissy on day 2. Not super high on him, but he could be something decent. Benjamin St. Juste is another younger corner you have. The third-round pick in 21. He has been very good. Javon Bower's a fine nickel corner, but I just don't think that secondary is going to be very good. And Jordan Love, the last 2 seasons, had dealt with some injuries, but he had Malik Willis behind him. Malik Willis was able to hold the fort down. Then you brought in Tyrod Taylor, who's a guy who's been in the league a long time. He can play, but the guy gets hurt every 2 games. So if Jordan Love is going to miss 2, 3, 4 games, Tyrod Taylor can maybe hold the fort down. But if he can't get through the 4 game, which is very possible, you may have to turn to Kyle McCord, who's never played in the NFL before. Guy who's at Ohio State for a year, wasn't great, goes to Syracuse, leads the nation in passing. Ends up being a very late pick. He was a 6th-round pick by Philadelphia a year ago. Philadelphia let him go after a year, and now he's in Green Bay as a reserve. And again, Josh Jacobs, he was nicked up throughout last year, but you had Emmanuel Wilson, who filled in very nice for him, was able to keep his workload down the stretch. But you don't have him anymore. He's now in Seattle, so now you're relying on Chris Brooks, who isn't very good. Marshawn Lloyd, who you've had for a couple of years, hasn't really shown anything when he's been out there, and Pierre Strong Jr., who shouldn't be in the league. Christian Watson is very injury prone. I said at the time that contract is a massive overpay. Jaden Reed was hurt most of last year. What can Matthew Golden give them? Sky Moore isn't any good. They have Brendan Rice on their team. He isn't very good. The active line's going to be worse, losing Elton Jenkins. You still have some pieces there. Zach Thomas is very good. Aaron Banks is a good guard. Jordan Morgan left tackle, but still they have some injury concerns. They don't have the depth they did last year. So if this team continues to have health concerns, they don't have the depth to really overcome that. So I really think that Green Bay is in some trouble this year. Yes, at their peak, if everything goes right, this is a team that could win 11, 12 games and contend in the NFC. but I think there's a better chance that they're looking at probably a 6 or 7 1 year because there are too many holes on this roster. And in last place, I have the Minnesota Vikings. I just don't see this ending well with Kyler Murray and JJ McCarthy. They seem like they're at odds in camp. And Kyler, I just think is a bust. He's in a much better situation, but guy's always hurt. His body's just not meant to last a full season. I don't think he fits in Kevin O'Connell's system. And JJ McCarthy, I know he's only played 1 year, was hurt the first year, was terrible last year. He's a bust. I think he's already a bust. I know there's a ton of weapons on this team. Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason in the backfield. Justin Jefferson is the most talented receiver in the league. Jordan Addison is helped for now. He's not suspended finally. He's good. You add Juwan Jang, who's a good receiver. I think fits nicely. TJ Hawkins is a good tight end. O-line should be a lot better being healthy. Darryl Sobrano, Will Freeze, year 2 of Donovan Jackson. But I think this defense is going to be terrible. Carol Banks, taking the first round. I said at the time, I think that was a reach. He has a lot of talent, but a lot of injury concerns. What are you going to get out of Dominic Orange? And you look on the edge. Dallas Turner, we're still waiting on him. What is he going to turn into that linebacking core? There are some guys who could be okay. Like Ivan Pace Jr. was pretty good. We'll see what Jake Golday turns into. But like Eric Wilson, Blake Cashman are just kind of fine. Yeah, secondary. I like Byron Murphy Jr. He's a good corner as a nickelback. But the rest of it is ugly with Isaiah Rogers and James Pierre and Josh Metellus. I think that secondary is going to be very, very bad. And look, Brian Flores has kept this defense afloat. He's a great defensive coordinator, but he better really dig deep in his bag because this defense is not completely devoid of talent, but it is one of the 10 worst talent defenses in football for sure, in my opinion. So I think they're going to struggle at the quarterback spot. I don't think Kyler's going to work out. I think 9 will be back in there before the end of the year, and it's going to be ugly, as talented as the offense is, and they're just not going to be able to get enough stops to complement an offense that has a lot of talent but is flawed because they do have some concerns at the quarterback position. I think it's going to be a long year for the Vikings. It'll probably lead to Kevin O'Connell being wrongfully fired. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long. Have a great day.